Most internal audit functions still operate like this. One annual audit plan, fixed scope, fixed timelines, and by the time the audit report is issued, the risk has already changed. If that sounds familiar, then this video is for you. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are talking about agile auditing and continuous compliance, and more importantly, how internal audit can move from a once-a-year inspection model to a real-time risk assurance function. This shift is not just a technical improvement, it is a fundamental transformation in how internal audit creates value, and it is strongly aligned with the direction set out in IIA Vision 2035, which emphasizes continuous insight, agility, and strategic relevance for the internal audit profession. To understand how this transformation works in practice, we need to begin with the concept of continuous monitoring. In today's rapidly changing risk environment, organizations can no longer depend solely on periodic reviews. Risks evolve continuously, driven by digital systems, regulatory change, operational complexity, and human behavior. A continuous monitoring framework is designed to embed risk awareness and control oversight directly into daily operations, ensuring that emerging issues are identified early rather than discovered months later during an audit review. This reflects the core direction of Vision 2035, which positions internal audit as a proactive, forward-looking function that delivers real-time assurance rather than historical reporting. The first step in building such a framework is establishing strong governance and clear ownership. Without clarity on roles and responsibilities, continuous monitoring cannot function effectively. Management must remain accountable for the design and execution of internal controls, while internal audit retains its independence by evaluating the effectiveness of the monitoring system itself. This separation of duties is essential and aligns with the global internal audit standards, particularly those relating to independence, objectivity, and the assurance role of internal audit over governance, risk management, and control processes. When governance is properly defined, continuous monitoring becomes structured rather than fragmented. Once governance is in place, the next step is identifying the organization's most critical and high-risk processes. Continuous monitoring is not about observing everything. It is about focusing on what matters most. Internal audit must concentrate on processes where risk exposure is highest and where failures would have significant financial, operational, or reputational impact. These typically include procurement, payroll, revenue collection, regulatory compliance, and IT access management. This targeted approach reflects the risk-based methodology required under the global internal audit standards, which require internal audit resources to be directed toward areas of greatest significance to the organization. After identifying these key processes, the next stage is mapping the most important controls within each process. Instead of attempting to monitor every control, the framework focuses only on the critical controls that have the greatest impact on preventing or detecting material risk events. These are the controls that truly protect the organization. This ensures that continuous monitoring remains efficient, practical, and focused on value, in line with the GIAS principle of prioritizing significant risk coverage. The framework then moves into the design of key risk indicators and key control indicators. This is where continuous monitoring becomes data-driven. Key risk indicators provide early warning signals that risk levels are increasing, while key control indicators measure whether controls are functioning effectively. For example, unusual transaction overrides, delayed reconciliations, or abnormal access activity may signal potential breakdowns in controls. This approach reflects Vision 2035's emphasis on leveraging data, analytics, and technology to enhance audit insight and enable proactive assurance. To operationalize this, organizations must identify the data sources that will feed the monitoring process. Importantly, this does not require advanced or expensive systems at the beginning. Many organizations already have sufficient data within ERP systems, HR platforms, financial systems, and basic operational reports. Even simple dashboards or spreadsheet-based tools can be used effectively at the initial stage. What matters most is the reliability, accuracy, and consistency of the data. Under the global internal audit standards, Internal audit plays a key role in evaluating whether the information used for assurance is sufficient and trustworthy. A critical component of the framework is the escalation and response mechanism. Continuous monitoring only adds value when exceptions trigger timely action. Therefore, thresholds must be clearly defined, responsibilities assigned, and escalation procedures established. When indicators exceed acceptable limits, management must respond quickly, and repeated breaches should escalate into deeper audit attention. This ensures that monitoring is not passive but actively drives accountability and corrective action. Finally, continuous monitoring must feed into continuous improvement. The framework is not static. It evolves as risks change, controls mature, and organizational priorities shift. Indicators may be refined, outdated metrics removed, and new emerging risks incorporated over time. The output of continuous monitoring should also directly inform the internal audit plan, enabling a more agile and responsive audit function. This creates a continuous feedback loop where monitoring, assurance, and audit planning are fully integrated. In conclusion, a continuous monitoring framework transforms internal audit from a periodic, backward-looking function into a dynamic provider of real-time risk intelligence. It strengthens organizational resilience, improves decision-making, and enhances the strategic relevance of internal audit. This evolution is not optional. It is exactly the direction envisioned under Vision 2035 and fully supported by the global internal audit standards, which position internal audit as a trusted advisor delivering independent, risk-based, and forward-looking assurance in an increasingly complex world. If your internal audit function is still operating like an annual inspection unit, you are already behind the risk curve. In the next videos, I will cover how to design a continuous monitoring framework step by step, how to communicate agile audit results to senior management, and how to retrain audit teams for this transition. If this added value to your practice, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a fellow auditor who still thinks audit is a yearly event. Until next time, audit smart, audit agile.